Let's move the subject on to Pat Brown, and someone I wanted to come in the studio 2 or 3 weeks ago. I asked Sam for you to come in. I've been fascinated by what you're doing. 2025, you've got to put it down as a good year for you. 5 fights in 7 months, all of them gone the way you'd want them to. I thought the last performance against Felix Valera, who's someone who has been getting knocked out recently, but not the way you knocked him out. You know, his claim to fame is going 12 rounds with Dimitri Bivol 9 years ago, but not standing out. I thought your performance against him was outstanding. You happy with your year?
Yeah, I am happy with my year. I've learnt a hell of a lot, and I think everything Matchroom has done for me, that's what we, you know, when I met them for negotiations at the start of the year, they've come true and they've stood by the word, which I honour. But they threw me in the deep end. First fight, a headline. Then I've boxed in an arena. Then I've boxed in a stadium. Then I've travelled to America. So I've kind of ticked everything now. So next year, there's nothing they can throw at me where, I don't really know about this. Like, yeah, if I'm fighting for the belt, I still know all the media you got to do. Because for me, it was like the media and squaring off with my opponent and stuff, and I've had to get used to it all, because when I was an amateur, as soon as you're squaring off, you're about to go after them. Whereas now it's like you're seeing your opponent more times, and you've got to get your head around it.
That's good management and good promotion by doing that, though, because it's setting you up, because they know the star potential that you have, and you've got a huge following. You look at your 5-0, 5 KOs, and you're 13 in the IBF, 14 in the WBA, and you're all of a sudden looking at like people like Vidal Riley, who's the British champion. You're going, look, you know, they're in my sights in the next 12 months or so. So, you know, there's a lot of confidence in you from the team that are behind you, which is good.
That's interesting, because we eventually had Jamie Moore in the studio a couple of months ago talking about you. Listen to what Jamie had to say about you, Pat.
Pat Brown's a beast. I promise you. Like, I've been around this sport. I've been around the sport for 35 years, and I don't want to overcook it here now, but like along the lines of, he could be one of these like fighters who've lived in the memory for a long time. Right. He's going to be involved in some exciting fights, but the way he goes about his work ethic, he's so powerful and strong for a cruiserweight. So what is the plan? Is certainly by this time next year, he's boxing for the British title.
Now, obviously, Jamie's your trainer, so he's going to speak in a certain way, but I also think Jamie's quite forthright and says what he means and means what he says. When you listen to people talk about you in that way, what sort of reaction does it elicit in you?
With all due respect, it goes through one ear and out the other, because what I've learned in the sport of boxing, not Jamie, obviously, because he doesn't actually say that to me in the gym. He keeps me grounded, but most people, they build you up, and then as soon as you fall off a little bit, they're soon ready to just chop you down.
Yep.
So I've got a mentality where this is business, and it's just boxing, and you have no mates at all. And my job is to just be the best version of myself. I've got my close-knit team around me who do their work, and I've just got to deliver in the ring. So it doesn't matter if people say I'm, the best thing since sliced bread, or they don't rate me. I don't care about opinions. I just know what I'm made of, and I can't wait. A lot of people are going on about my power, and rightly so, but people are yet to see me box yet. I love boxing on the back foot. I've just not needed to at the moment. And also, like, I'm not going to swear or anything like that, but when the going gets tough, I love having it as well. Like, deep, and you can tell all the GB coaches that when we went Kazakhstan and stuff, the GB coaches are like, go off your jab and, traditional boxing way. Whereas they knew I wasn't like that. And that training camp, when I stood there and I was boxing with him, but trading and stuff, that's when they knew, right, we need to start moulding round this style for him.
But what happened on that? I mean, I'm going to come back to some other questions I want to ask you about where your career path is going and how quickly we're going to get there. But what happened on that Olympic journey? Because I remember you coming in the studio post the Olympics, and there was a lot of excitement. You had a little bit of an injury, so it's taking you a time to make your pro debut. But there was a lot of excitement, but the Olympic dream didn't really pan out, did it?
No, it didn't.
Why is that then?
So, in terms of my Olympic journey, I was never supposed to be there. I got brought into the GB squad 2.5 years in. So Lewis Williams, who was competing with at my weight, he's been on the cycle before, a little bit of the cycle before that. So they've invested a hell of a lot into him. He was the number one. And I was just sort of there as a sparring partner, and I knew that's what they fought. But in my head, I'm like, no, I'm coming. And my dad used to always say to me, every spar you have, you're there to really hurt them, and don't slow down. If they say take it easy and do this and do that, go for it. And that's exactly what I did. And I'm respect to, like, I don't talk about sparring and that, but something happened in sparring. I got the green light to go to this tournament, and then it kind of just spiraled from there, and I carried on, and then I got the opportunities, and I obviously qualified in Italy, and then when the Olympics come, I boxed Kino Machado, whatever his name is, from Brazil. He was actually my first ever international fight for GB. That's another thing. I'd never had an international fight in my life when I got on GB. Even though I've boxed for so long, it just didn't really work out until I become a senior in my amateur career. And then, yeah, he beat me last round. I nearly got him out of there, and that's amateur boxing. He won't ever turn over professional because Brazil, you know, they give him so much money. Like Jalalov for Uzbekistan, they get paid a fortune to stay as an amateur, and they know how to play the game.
I was out there, mate, and straight away you could see that out of the whole team that were out there for Britain, you go straight away, that's the kid that will do well in the professional ranks, because you see your style wasn't suited for it. You started catching up to him, at the end of the fight. And, you know, if it would have been a 5 or 6 rounder, then you would have got him out of there for sure. But stylistically, I think the amateurs was never suited for you. No. I think you've done the right decision by coming back from that games, turning over, because you was the one with star credentials going into the professional ranks off the back of the Olympics for sure.
Yeah. Isn't that often the case though? You know, like when you're in the amateurs, you get like succession of fights back to back to back, and now the same things happen as you turn pro. So that's kind of set you up, isn't it?
Yeah,
getting you ready for that. You said you've had 5 fights.
Do you know what?
7 months.
It's I remember during COVID, I went into the Northwest quarterfinals, beat the kid, and then I was supposed to box the following weekend, and then, you know, you have to stay at home, you're not allowed to do anything, so I was wounded. People on the GB squad, they were still training, and I was just scaffolding at the time, and just a kid with a dream. And I remember in my garden, my dad cut a tree down, I was using that, it was like Rocky, I was just training, and I had no hope. And this is what I was telling to my brother at my dad's gym with his kids, like, I genuinely have come from the estate. I've been in times where there was nothing for me. People were turning over pro, like straight after COVID. And I said, no, I'm going to stay on. There's no point me turning over pro, because I don't want to go from grassroots level and work my way up, because I'm there to earn money and there to win belts, and my health's on the line. I don't want to earn peanuts and get took advantage of. It's like an apprenticeship, isn't it? You earn your stripes. So I stayed on, and when I was a kid, as a junior, as a youth, I was like win-loss. I couldn't really, I was a nervous kid, even though I loved to fight. I was one of them in the gym. I was good at sparring, but when it come to fighting, I was in the car park to my dad crying as a kid, I'm too nervous. And like, I just want to show the kids that it doesn't matter where you're from, who you are, you can get there. And that's why I'm buzzing with what I did on GB. And I think Rob McCracken said when I qualified, I'm joint first with AJ for the fastest turning Olympian, which is 2.5 years or 2 years or something. And then Joshua Boaz's third, second, because me and AJ are joint at the top. But I was just buzzing to just say to the kids, there you go. I've proved that you can come from nothing and do it.
Yeah, you speak very well. And that's going to stand you in good stead alongside your ability in the ring. When Jamie was in, it was about July, I think it was, Spence, wasn't it? And he was talking about you being having a British title in the bag, with no disrespect to who your opponent's going to be, within the year. So that means next July. Is that your game plan? Is it to go chronological? Is it to go through the belts, to go to the British, the Commonwealth, the European, and onto the Worlds? Is that what you want to do?
Yeah, definitely. I want to do the traditional route, because I don't want to be one of them fighters where, you know, I skip a level, then I get found out. I want people to say, you know what, he's gone through it the old school way. I'm a man of my word, I'll fight like anyone, and I don't want to sort of, I believe in, if you deserve to be there, then you should. That's why with Fabio, I think you should be able to fight Usyk. I don't like the world of boxing, and that's politics. Why when I went back to GB, you walk in and it's just sport. That's it. There's no politics. There's no nothing. And my next fight will be end of March, start of April, and it will be for an English title, and that will be the road of collecting.
That will be 6 fights in a year since you made your pro debut. How good are you, Pat? And the reason why I asked this question, and I'll give you the end of the question, right, and then go back to the original part of how good you are. Usyk fights for a world title after 10 fights. People are talking about you in the same sort of breath that they were talking about Usyk. You're 26 years of age, comparative in age terms to when Usyk fought for his world title. He fights it after 10 fights. You're 5 fights in, learning your trade, prepared to go through the levels to do your apprenticeship so you make sure that you do it properly. But time is not to be wasted. So when I say to you, Usyk's fought after 10 fights for a world title, and how good are you? They're sort of indexed into a question of, could you win a world title in that timeline? Because if you're fighting for British titles and European titles, you're 2 years down the road before you get that world title opportunity.
One part of my brain saying, I'm not going to be at cruiserweight very long just because of my size. Yeah. I'll struggle with the weight. So I would like to say yeah, because I want to go through it fast. But then the other side of my brain is saying, like, hold your horses a little bit. Like, you've not gone past 4 rounds yet, and yeah, sparring is a different story. You can do rounds, but it's different.
The time is to be used wisely,
exactly.
mate. Like when you have that potential, and you look at your style and whatnot, and you go like, sometimes when a fighter's rushed, you'll back me on this one. When a fighter's rushed, it can be the worst thing that can ever happen. It's all about development, taking your time. As you say, you ain't been past 4 rounds, so you go, as opposed to saying, can I get there in 10 fights? You say, can I get there in 2 years? Or can I get there in 3 years? If you give yourself 3 years, you're going to be 29. You've gone through that system. You've developed as a fighter. And that gives you longevity in the career. Sometimes when a fighter's rushed and things go wrong, that's when things...
Listen, we can have all the skill in the world. If you get rushed too soon, it means nothing. But what he's actually saying is he wants to go to traditional route.
Yeah.
Because that's the right route. That's how you build the grounding.
And you've seen it with Conor Walker versus Pat McCormack.
Yep.
I've always looked up to Pat McCormack as an amateur because, what he's won is the best that's ever done it for Great Britain. But then when I was in the training camp with Conor, like they were saying, because I'll be honest with you, I was sat on the fence and I was thinking, there's more ways of Pat beating Conor. The only way Conor's going to beat Pat is getting him out there in the later rounds when he's drained him. That's if he's not took too much punishment at the start. And I was there, I was doing the commentary, and I was watching, I was thinking, hold on a minute, these starting rounds, the back and forth here, it's working in Conor's favour. And even though Pat put up a great fight in such, so early in his career, you can't teach going into them deep waters in round 11 and 12. And Conor was still pointing at him and fresh as a daisy because he's been there and done it. And that's what I don't want to happen to me. I don't want to, all the hype, all this. I want to go there. I want to feel them deeper rounds and stuff. I can't wait until I do and see what I'm made of. I know what I'm made of, but I can't wait to prove to people.
But if they don't move you on, I think you're a very balanced, bright young man. I'm not being patronising or condescending by saying that. You speak very well. But if you're not going to get these rounds against the opponents they're putting you in against, because the same challenge that Moses Atoma's got, you're just taking them out. It's nice to hear him talk this way. It's very balanced and very thoughtful. But are you going to get the kind of experiences you want by not making these significant jumps when the opportunity presents itself?
Again, only time will tell, though, won't it?
Well, I
come down to the match.
He may only get there when he gets to that level, that's the point. But you go you're right in what you say, Pat. I think that boxing is all about proving. You want to prove to people that you can do it. You also, as a fighter, want to prove to yourself that you can do it because mentally you're saying to yourself, I'm ready, I can get in deep waters. But when you get in that round 10, 11, 12, and it's tough and it's a back and forth and the fight can be won and lost in those last couple of rounds, trust me, the voices that are going on in your head, the demons that are in there that you have to overcome, the psychological side, that is, I talk about it all the time because that is the tough part of the sport.
And that's
you don't know it until you're there. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
you don't know
100%.
it until you're there. You're battling with yourself more than you're battling with the geezer smacking you in the face.
I excuse this, from someone that's never laced any gloves up. I don't rate the cruiserweight division. I think that he will win a world title if he keeps on the trajectory he's going. I think the elite fighter in there is clearly Jai Apataya. I'm very fond of Chris Billam-Smith. I'm delighted that he got to win a world title, but I don't think it's a division rich in huge talent. What do you think of the cruiserweights?
Well, like you say, you've got your champions and then you've got the contenders. So there's room there for these guys to move through. A lot will depend on Pat's. He's just what he's. The good thing about this kid. Sorry, I don't mean to. I'm old enough to be your granddad, probably, but you know what I mean. Yeah, you got like an old head on young shoulders.
He does. Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Sensible lad.
Yeah. Listen, and he doesn't want to be rushed. He wants to do it his way.
Cruiserweights, a lot of those names now have moved up into the heavyweight division, and there is a Jai Apataya, by the way, he's going to move up in time. By the time you get there, he's probably moved up, so there is going to be a massive space there. Yeah. And cruiserweight, it's always been that division, though, isn't it? That sort of lacked
Well,
that star quality. We had it there for a little while.
The reason is because the money's not there.
Yeah.
And everyone, even, you know, when you read about Evander Holyfield having to fight, being, you know, the Cruiserweight champion, getting 500 grand a fight, bang, straight into the heavyweights, 5 million. So the economics between the two divisions have always been there. And obviously we've got some rambling from Joe Gallagher, who I like a lot, about having a light Cruiserweight division. Got my head around that one. But what do we make of the challenges that Jai Opetaia seems to be having? I mean, you're in this division. He's desperately trying to unify this division. He's desperately trying. He's calling out everybody. He's proving to everybody that he's the best in the division by the performance he's putting on. I think some of the opposition he's been putting against is way beneath him. I don't mean in terms of the fact they're fighting men, but in terms of ability. Yet, you know, he talked about Chris Billam-Smith, and Chris Billam-Smith can have all the money in the room if he wants to, as long as he can get this fight. What do you think about that kind of nonsense in your division, the Cruiserweight division that you're currently in, where you can't get one fighter able to unify the division, given the fact that he's the best in it?
Yeah, it's a shame because you've heard it numerous times about me saying I'm old school. I just wish, you know, you've got one champion and everyone's going for him, and, you know, you have it's just money. That's the problem. But you should have the right to box the best and see who is the best amongst them all. And Opetaia, he is the man in the Cruiserweight division, in my opinion. And I think he's awkward, he's light on his feet, and he's dangerous both hands. And I do think we should see him against the Brit. And Chris Billam-Smith, you know, he's tough, and that'd be an interesting fight to also see where. Like, not to see where Opetaia is at, like, oh, we're doubting him, but it's just Chris Billam-Smith.
But it is outrageous, isn't it, that you've got Opetaia that should be able to fight Zurdo Ramirez, and we're then pushing David Benavidez up from super middleweight.
100%, I agree.
That's not right, is it?
No, I agree.
From some light heavy, up to Cruiserweight, that's not right, is it?
Yeah, no, it's not right. But then money talks in boxing, and I don't think, like, so many people can talk and talk and talk, but is it going to change? I don't know if it will. And
I think Benavidez, where he's sort of gone through those weight divisions and he's won, you know, sort of world titles, you go, when you step up the weight division, whoever it may be, like it's WBC, for instance, they'll rank him very, very highly.
Yeah,
and obviously he gets that opportunity. It's just
it's
the business.
Do you like
of the sport.
the idea? I mean, it's interesting, isn't it? Benavidez fighting Zurdo Ramirez. The reason people suggested that Canelo duck Benavidez, besides the fact that a lot of people felt that he was too much for Canelo at such stage in his career, is because of the Mexican dynamic. Yeah, he's going to fight another Mexican, and potentially, you know what that means in terms of their reputations in their home country. Do you like Benavidez versus Zurdo Ramirez? Everybody thought that when Chris Billam-Smith elected to go down that route, that was the easier route to go down. And in the first round with Chris, you thought, hello, this looks like a nice, easy night's work. And then, boom, 11 rounds after that, Chris didn't lay a glove on him.
That Ramirez is underrated, you know. I know he's a world champion in his own right.
Well, we saw it, didn't we, against CBS?
Nobody's talking about him, but that kid can fight.
That's a great fight. With
him and Opetaia is a good fight. And I think he would probably give you all the answers you want from Opetaia.
But he's not going to take the fight. He's going to take Benavidez, isn't he?
Yeah.
What do you, last question for you, Pat, in this. What do you think of the idea, given it's your division, of people like Callum Smith and Anthony Yard landing in your division, creating another set of challenges and opportunities?
Well, with Callum Smith, he's another one who I've always watched and admired with his left hook and his guard and stuff. And my S&C coach, I go there every Tuesday morning in Liverpool and I speak to Callum, and he's lovely, proper family man.
He is, yeah.
But yeah, it's boxing. Everyone wants the titles and everyone wants the money, don't they? So they'll go where the money is. And it's an entertainment business. You're there to put on a show and give massive fights. And him against BOXING, that was an unbelievable fight. And that's what Callum Smith delivers and brings. But yeah, if it ends up, if they come up and, you know, you have to fight each other, it's just one of them things, isn't it?
I think for the young fighters, it's always a passing of the torch, isn't it? And like having names on that CV. And when you're talking about the likes of Callum Smith and you're going, you know, where you're placing your career, and if you may be having this conversation in 18 months when you're fighting him, let's say, for instance, you go, that's always, historically, that's the way the sport works. You go, you want those good names. And Callum
actually, my last opponent, he was supposed to fight him.
Right.
And he was telling me, like, because it got cancelled, I don't know why, but obviously he was studying him and stuff, and he was saying he can be very dirty, and he was giving me tips and tricks and stuff like that. And I'm one of them, I don't really do much research into my opponents. I kind of just watch them and see who they are, because as an amateur, people would already be beaten before they've got in the ring. And I've never been that sort of guy. I look at him as just a man with two arms, and that's it. So yeah, I didn't know he was going to fight Callum, and that just shows, you know, the level a little bit. I know the guy was old, but his last fight was against Golden Boy's top prospect, who he took 10 rounds and stuff like that. So I genuinely thought this guy's he's gonna get me there, and it was just nice that Callum getting back to the point. He is a lovely guy, and he was helping me out. But
Great boxing family, aren't they?
Yeah, no, they are 100%.
Absolutely. We're going to watch you with a lot of interest and with a lot of optimism. So thank you for joining us.
On AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.